school. Yeah. So, this is from a very interesting text. Of course, you know there are the Gospels in the New Testament of the Bible. They describe the life of Jesus. So, one probably the most famous Western novelist. Who's the most famous novelist in the West? The most famous novelist in all time.
Shakespeare?
He's not a novelist. He's a playwright.
Oh, novelist.
Tolstoy.
Oh, Tolstoy.
Yeah. So he was somewhat of a mystic, and he studied very much and associated with many saints. So he wrote a commentary on the Gospels. Very interesting. So I want to read this. You know the history that once Jesus, he went into the wilderness to pray and fast for 40 days and 40 nights. So completely giving up all consciousness of the body and mind to just completely be absorbed in praying to God for 40 days and 40 nights. So it's mentioned, and it's very famous, that at that time he had the darshan of Satan. The devil came to him. And there's the narrative in the Gospels that Satan came to him and told him, if you are really the Son of God, then make these stones into bread. If you are hungry, you did not eat for 40 days. So you are the Son of God, make these stones into bread. And he said, man cannot live by bread alone. Very famous. And then he saw that Satan had brought him up to the top of a tower, very high tower. And Satan told him, if your God exists, then you should jump from this tower and he will catch you. And the reply was, thou shalt not tempt the Lord your God. Don't tempt God. Don't try to test him empirically, was the reply. And then the third temptation, he said, I'll make a deal with you. Why do you want to serve in heaven when you can rule on earth, my kingdom? Just bow down to me and you can become the king of the whole material world. So, this history is very well known. But how did the mystics interpret this? So Tolstoy is giving here a very beautiful paraphrase of this pastime. He said, Jesus remained in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights without food or drink. And the voice of the flesh said to him. So here, there's no guy with the spiky horns, and the little beard, and with the Trishul trident like Lord Shiva, with the goat's legs and a tail, and surrounded by fire, the smell of sulfur, all that kind of thing. He's saying here, it means the voice, it means there's a constant dialogue going on between the soul and his body. Okay? So that's all of us. That's all of us at every moment. Whose will emerge triumphant? The will of the soul or the will of the body? This is our moment by moment struggle in the conditioned state. So, the voice of the flesh said to him, if you were the Son of Almighty God, then you could make bread out of stones, but you cannot do so, and therefore you are not the Son of God. That means that Son of God means spiritual. Krishna said, Aham bija prajapita. I am the seed-giving father of everyone. So the question is, If you are really spiritual, then you should have spiritual powers. But you don't have any spiritual powers. So you are not spiritual, you are the body. You feel like the body, you act like the body, you cannot do anything that your body doesn't do. So why are you a soul? You are not a soul. You are not a son of God. Amritas, the Vedas say Amritasya Putra, sons of nectar. The Jivas are Amritasya Putra, the sons of nectar. Supreme Lord is the Amrita Swarup. So, Jesus said to himself, if I cannot make bread out of stones, it means that I am not a son of God in the flesh, but in the spirit. The stones are matter and my body is matter. So if matter cannot influence matter, what does that have to do with me? I am not his son in terms of this physical body. I am fully spiritual in nature. So as spirit, I have no relation with stones or bread, or the body even. It's a very brilliant answer. Because many persons of different religions, and especially even today in Christianity, they think their body is the soul. They think that the blood in their body, they won't take a blood transfusion some because they think their soul is the blood. They think that when they die, one day they'll be resurrected in the same body, even. But very clearly, he's saying here, I am not the son in the flesh, but only in the spirit. So, and I am alive not by bread, but by the spirit, and my spirit is able to disregard the flesh. So many people, due to Abhinivesh, people think without a body you cannot be alive. Really, Abhinivesh really means without a body I cannot be alive. So I have to be Abhinivesh, absorbed in the mind and senses. He's saying no, I am not this body. I am spiritual and I can disregard, I can neglect this body. My soul does not require bread. So then, but still hunger tormented him. So it was his own hunger which is coming, just like when you do Ekadasi Vrat. And it's the afternoon time is coming. And you can smell all the other devotees taking prasadam. So then hunger tormented him more. And the voice of the flesh said to him, if you live only by spirit and can disregard the flesh, then throw off your flesh and your spirit will remain alive. And it seemed to him that he was standing on the roof of the temple. You see? So this is what he's doing now in the commentary. He's making a connection between the first temptation, that the answer to the first temptation led to the second temptation. So man doesn't live by bread alone. Why am I a spirit? Okay, if you're a spirit, throw off your body. That's just jump off the temple. This is what a commentary should do. You know, if you read a commentary, say on Vedanta Sutra, what the commentators are doing is actually trying to find the sutra. That means a thread which is connecting all the aphorisms together. So what's the connection? The logical connection between each point. So he's bringing it out here. So he said, the voice of the flesh said to him again, then you can throw off your body and your spirit will remain alive. And it seemed to him that he was standing on the roof of the temple. And the voice of the flesh said to him, if you are the Son of God in spirit, then throw yourself from the temple and you will not hurt yourself. But an unseen force will keep you, support you, and save you from harm. But Jesus said to himself, I can disregard the flesh, but I may not throw it off. For I was born by spirit into the flesh, and that was the will of my Father, and I cannot oppose him. Now we come to the Yukta Vairagya. Okay, you're not the body. Okay, then give up everything. Torture your body with tapasya. He's saying, my soul was put in this body by God, and I accept His will and His wisdom that I am in a situation which is for my betterment. So in humility I'm accepting this. So I can disregard the gross demands, but I cannot throw it off because I've been placed in this situation by God. Now that answer, how does that answer connect to the next temptation? So that was the will of my Father, that I should be embodied and I cannot oppose Him. Then the voice of the flesh said, if you cannot oppose your Father by throwing yourself from the temple and discarding life, then you cannot oppose your Father by being hungry when you need to eat, because the needs you have in your body have also been given by your Father. How wicked is Satan? That means your own mind. How wicked is your own mind? Everything is the arrangement of God. So God gave me these desires also. How can I go against God? Recheta pradyak kapata kutinati barakaraishan mudrais tatvadasi suchretam. Raghunath Das Goswami said, how can you attain prem when every day you are bathing yourself in the donkey urine of duplicity? Duplicity, philosophically justifying material attachments and impure life. This duplicity is like a donkey urine. So outwardly a devotee may pretend to be very pure, but inside they have crookedness, kapatata. So Raghunath Das Goswami is saying to his own mind, if every day you wake up, you take a shower in donkey urine, then how will you be pure? Duplicity is like this. So he's saying, if you cannot oppose your Father by throwing yourself from the temple and discarding life, then you cannot oppose your Father by hungering when you need to eat. You must not make light of the desires of the flesh. They are placed in you by God, and therefore you must serve them. So this is the commentary on the gospel where Satan says, bow down to me, I'll make you the king of... You can rule on earth, why do you want to serve in heaven? So he's saying here that you have to follow your material desires is given in the analogy of the Bible, bowing down to Satan. That means surrendering to ignorance, by which one goes to hell. So Satan said, don't make light of desires of the flesh. They are placed in you by God. You must serve them. Then Jesus saw all the kingdoms of the earth and all the people. He had a vision of all the people in the world as they are living and laboring only for the flesh and expecting gain therefrom. So you can imagine for a moment all the millions of people in the world, what are they doing? They're working for this body and expecting they're going to gain from this. So he had a vision of everyone. And then the voice of the flesh said to him, there, look, see, all these people work for me, and I give them what they want. And if you will work for me, you will also enjoy like them. Sometimes if the devotee is anishtha, unsteady, then if you see someone enjoying sense gratification, then they feel like they're missing out on something. Like Ajamil. Right? Ajamil? And they cannot get it out from their mind. So here it said that he had a vision of everyone enjoying. And Satan said, there, you can have the same. So if you work for me, you will have the same. But Jesus said to himself, my Father, the Supreme Lord, is not flesh, but He is spirit. And I live by Him. I am always aware of His presence inside me. And He alone I give honor, and it is for Him alone for whom I work. And I only expect, if any reward is to come, I expect it only from Him. Of course, that is not a worldly reward. That is the Prema dana bina vyata daridra jiva dasa kori vetan mori daya prem. I am a beggar, I have no love. Krishna, please accept me as your servant, but you have to pay me something, one salary. Prem, this salary. So they are working, expecting some return in the flesh. But my Lord is spiritual. He lives in my heart. I constantly remember Him, I bow down to Him, and I work for Him, and any reward I only expect is from Him and not from anyone else. So then, saying this, the temptation ceased, and Jesus knew about the power of the Spirit. And when He had experienced the power of the Spirit, then He came out from the wild place, from the desert, and came again to meet with John and stayed with him. So this is a very beautiful poetical description of the internal struggle of the devotee with the bodily concept of life. But here are three answers. These are three answers. And when the third answer, that vow has been made, that third vow, what did he say? Oh, I belong to God, I am yours, I only serve you and surrender to you. When he had this abhiman strongly, then all the temptation ceased.